So, yesterday you saw us taking the Jimnys out on an off-road trail. I think for most Jimny owners, they probably will never do that. So today we're back at Farplassie again, and today we're going to use the Jimnys probably for what they're mostly going to be used for, other than the school run, is we're going on a family outing involving some gravel road driving and some scenic drives. So come and enjoy our drive with us today. Today we've got 3 Jimnys. We've not only got the 2 Generation 4s that we drove yesterday, we've also got a Generation 3 to show and to throw into the mix. That should give us a new angle on what the Jimny is all about. And we also have 2 lady drivers with us today who are going to be giving their views as well.
Also good to see that the 2 of them drive them every day. So those are their dailies, and it's going to be very interesting to get their take on the different models. So come and enjoy us. We're heading off to the Vreedefort Dome. I think the Schoemansdrif.
Yeah, we're going to do the Vreedefort Dome circle route. Vreedefort Dome is a geological feature that resulted from a huge meteorite crash with the Earth millions and millions of years ago, and that has created a lot of the local geology and geomorphology.
All right, cool. So come and enjoy our trip with us.
We'd like to welcome Natalie to the channel. Natalie currently dailies a Gen 4 3-door, so it'll be very interesting to get her take on the 5-door.
The top part of the safety belt is actually higher than what I'm used to. Now, I'm a short person, so I don't actually ever notice that, but I can definitely notice that now. And yeah, at the moment it feels very good. It does feel much bigger. It feels substantially bigger than the one I drive every day, and I don't know if that is because of the extra seat in the back, but that might be it. It actually feels a lot bigger. I don't think I realize how big it is. I can see obviously the difference between the two, but otherwise it looks good and I'm excited. The console is definitely different. It has I think it probably has the same things. Oh, here, the fuel consumption, this is definitely new. I don't have this part, but I do have it exactly the same on the inside console. The screen is definitely bigger. I believe it's now a 9-inch versus my much smaller one that I use. Okay, so there's these cute little touchpad buttons here, which I don't have on mine. There's the FM button. Okay, so you can set up all your volumes and your basses. Wi-Fi enabled, love that. I love the little noises. So the technology is definitely more advanced. I think it gives you way more options. Obviously gives you connectivity, so you can pick other phones to connect to. That's very cool. Mine might have the same, but I have never noticed that. I think you could just shoot a whole video on the monitor.
So as we've seen there, quite a couple of things have changed already. One of the things that Natalie's mentioned over there was the hinge point on the safety belt. I also noticed that, but I'm pretty sure they have not moved that up. I think what they have done is they've actually lowered the front seats. Now this does 2 things. It not only moves the pivot point on your shoulder for the safety belt, but it also gives the car a much roomier feel. So it feels much bigger inside. And both our lady drivers have commented on how much bigger they felt the car is. And I think that's largely due to those lowered seat positions.
It's much smoother than Generation 3. My Jimny is a lot more jumpy than this one. This one is really nice and smooth. Nice and simple. All you need, aircon, electric windows. The 4x4 is different as well. The change of it's a manual versus mine, you press a button. But yeah, it's a very nice smooth ride.
This is Gisela. We'd like to welcome her to the channel. Her daily is currently a 3-door Gen 3, so it'll be interesting to hear what she has to say. One of the other comments we also need to just make on the 5 doors in terms of safety. The 5-door has 6 airbags versus the 3 doors 3 airbags. So side impact protection has been added for those of you who want to be carrying your family in the 5-door.
Alright, so here we are in the Gen 3. This is my first time driving one. And you know, straight off the bat, there's so many people that have got opinions on these cars and how they don't have enough power, this and that, the next thing. And I don't know, it's really unwarranted. I think it's got more than enough power to do what it needs to do. I mean, I'm driving with the aircon on, up hills, down hills. It'll be interesting to see how the gearing is different from the manual 3-door JB74. This does 90 km an hour at 3000 RPM in fifth, and I just want to go and see when we drive that one later to compare, because I know there's been some issues with these in low range where the gear ratios are a little bit long, which then makes it rough on big rocky 4x4 sections. You literally just have to go too fast, and you know they have a tendency to get damaged. But overall, you can see how the generation has moved on. The seats are very familiar. They use the same materials. Fig noticed earlier too, there's a lot of the parts that seem to have not changed. Things like the rear view mirrors look identical, the door handles. So there's a lot of carryover parts. You know, Morna and myself, our esteemed camera mania, are both 6'4". I'm a bit more pregnant than he is, but we certainly find it a little bit cramped in here. The seats are both as far back as they can get, and you can see that there's not a lot of space for me in here. So the JB74 is definitely a big step in terms of interior space and roominess. The suspension as well, there's been a big update, even though they both are solid axle front and rear vehicles with coilovers. I think the older generation, the Gen 3, because it's slightly, I think it's a bit shorter and it's a bit narrower, does suffer a bit more from scuttle and shake, and it's a little bit less stable than certainly than the 3-door, and definitely a lot less stable than the 5-door is. But overall, I mean, I really think it's still something that you can look at. You know, if you want to get into some 4x4ing or join the Jimny clan, you know, a new 5-door is 470,000 Rand, where I think a good second-hand Jimny Gen 3, you know, you could probably pick up for anywhere between 100 and 150 Rand max. So definitely still an option. I see they've also moved away. This has got a vacuum-based selection system for the gearbox. So 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, and 4-wheel drive low. I'm happy to see that in the new generation they've opted to go for a more traditional actual gear lever, which you will then actuate to get to your 4-wheel high and low range. But yeah, overall I think it's still a very nice little car. But if you are 6'4" and you have a family, you know, and you need to take the kids to school, the Jimny Gen 3 is not going to be for you. So to take an extreme comparison from the Gen 3, which we're now, to the 5-door, which is the brand new Jimny, there's been a massive increase in space, stability, performance, technology. The addition of traction control, the price point surely suggests that that vehicle should be a lot better, and it should feel more advanced and more sophisticated. But it's nice to see how the generational advances in the Jimnys have kind of kept it to its soul. You know, they're still cute, they're still cool, everybody loves them, people waving at each other, but they've also brought it, I think certainly with the 5-door, they've brought it into a modern car era. It's a vehicle that you can get in and drive, you can safely put your kids in there. It's a huge leap forward.
Okay, very different. First observation, I can say the console is definitely different to the ones I'm used to. The seat is much smaller. I find the other seats are more luxurious, give me more room. Not that I need a lot of room, but this feels particularly small. Consoles are all very old, very different to mine. They don't really look anything like mine. I would have to, I mean, some of it is obviously very self-explanatory, but very different. And I literally can feel every bump in the road. That's different. I just find it's not as powerful as my own 3-door. Even the 5-door is by far more powerful. I can feel the 5-door has, there's go in that car, where this car is fun. It's cute, man. I love it. I can definitely see why Jimny decided to do a little bit of an upgrade. This car, it's probably just all the technology. I just don't know all of the exact reasons we did an upgrade. Okay, hitting the gravel now. Holy, I instantly feel the difference. This little car is bouncing around everywhere. It's a lot harder to control than it is mine. My 3-door is very easy to drive in these type of conditions. It'll still be responsive, but it won't be this bouncy. You definitely have to pay more attention, that's for sure. I'm paying attention to every single thing, and also because it's a slightly older car, we have a lot of rattles that are going on.
The difference between the short wheelbase and the long wheelbase is really quite apparent immediately. And my feeling is it's a lot more than just the additional wheelbase, and that wheelbase is going to make a huge difference because it's going to stop the pitching tendency, which is what leads to the yawing tendency that you can feel in both the Gen 3 and Gen 4 short wheelbases. So the long wheelbase allows the front wheels to get over a hump before the rear wheels hit it, so the car can generally sail along more smoothly. But it's not just that. This car really does feel more refined than the short wheelbase. The auto gearbox will help that, but I do think they've done some work on the suspension on this car as well. It really is a lot more refined than the short wheelbase. Yeah, so as far as the difference goes between the manual and the auto, I must say I've really enjoyed this automatic. My own personal preference when driving off-road is automatic. I have two more or less identical G-Wagons, one auto, one manual, and I love them equally. They're fantastic cars, but in extreme off-roading, an auto box just gives you that little bit of fine control because of the slipping in the torque converter that you don't get with a manual, because you can't slip a clutch like that without damaging it. And to the Jimnys, the whole aura of refinement that this long wheelbase has is not just the work done on the suspension, but it's this auto box. It's a nice smooth shifting box, and it's an old-fashioned box. It's still a torque converter box, no fancy double clutches or anything like that. It obviously is electronically controlled, but it really shifts very nicely. This auto is a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned. If I were choosing a Jimny now, I would most certainly take the auto. It's a very, very smooth shifting. It really helps the overall feel of the car. The manual Jimny has quite a sensitive clutch and gear shift. Gear shift is very the clutch is almost an on-off switch. It's quite difficult to slip it in. It's quite easy to make jarring gear changes.
As soon as I engaged 4x4, it just became a little bit more solid. The steering wheel feels a bit heavier, and it's actually quite easy to engage it. I didn't realize you can just, while you're driving, you just put it in 4x4. So yeah, this is a very nice car.
So I'm now doing the 5-door on the gravel, and instantly it's a lot smoother. The other little Jimny, the older one, is very, very reactive. I was constantly worried I was going to roll it or throw it off course, but this one feels amazing. I feel like I'm driving a luxury Land Rover, which I have done on gravel before, no issues. I can feel I'm on gravel, but actually really great car.
Look, there's something else. It's not just this wheelbase.
Look, the wheelbase difference will make it, no doubt.
Yeah.
As you say, there's something else. It's not the same.
No, there's definitely more
The
refinement in
suspension is better.
it. No, it just floats. So well done, Suzuki.
So after driving all three vehicles on the same terrain at roughly the same speed, I must admit that the 5-door is in the league of its own. It's just much better than both the 3-door and the Gen 3. The Gen 4 3-door probably has the same gap over the Gen 3. They've really sorted out the suspension on the newer cars incredibly well. It's very interesting to get the different take from all the different drivers, but I do agree with Christian. The 5-door, without a doubt, is the pick of the bunch here. We saw the same thing in the 4x4 in our previous video. So yeah, I think the future's looking very bright for 5-door Jimny owners.
Alright, so here we are, Jimny 3-door. This is probably its more natural habitat, I think, where it's going to be spending some of its time for most users. We're out here in the Vreedefort Dome. This is a gravel road, considered a fairly good gravel road by some of gravel road standards. Yeah, Jimny, solid front axle, coilover springs, very nice to drive. I mean, I've got a Hilux bucky with leaf springs and that would certainly shake the fillings out of your teeth on a road like this, but yeah, it's fairly good. We've shifted it into 4-wheel high. The Jimnys can be shifted into 4-wheel high up to 100 kilometers an hour, so you don't have to stop. You just shift over, and it does have a profound influence on the handling of the car and the stability of these corrugated rough roads. But yeah, impressions, I really like it. I think it's a safe option. If you want to be going out and looking at terrain like this, you can't go wrong with the JB74 3-door Jimny.
The one thing that's very apparent between the Generation 3 and 4 is that the Gen 4, they've done a lot of work on the chassis, and the car itself is much more refined. It does mean you get a lot less feedback from the road in the Gen 3. That's a very raw car. You can feel everything that's going on with the suspension and the steering and the road. And it's not to say that these don't have all the feel you need, because they do. They are very nice. So this one's the short wheelbase made on Gen 4, and a lot less rattly than Gisela's Gen 3, although her car's obviously a lot older than this and it's been around. But I think the overall feel is that this is still very much a Jimny compared to the Gen 3, and there's a lot that's carried over in the way of the look and feel and design of things. The one thing I noticed on the car that's exactly the same part is the wing mirrors. Gen 3 to Gen 4 wing mirrors, I'm pretty sure that's interchangeable between the two cars, which is unusual these days.
Interesting comments there about some of the spare parts that have been carried over, but yes, the look and feel between the Gen 3 and Gen 4 is very similar. They've managed to make it a super new car, but still managed to retain the spirit of the previous Jimnys. A lot of the feel is the same. There is that slight hint of pitching and yawing in the Gen 4, but it's been a massive improvement over the Gen 3.
Sure, yeah, the difference is day and night. The 5-door is so smooth, you hardly feel the road. The 3-door 4 generation is a little bit more like jumpy, but this one is raw. This one is like, it's not insulated, it's very rough compared to those two.
Right, so here we are in the Jimny Gen 3, and I think it's clear to see where the advances in suspension and chassis technology was spent. The Jimnys can literally, the Gen 4s can just cross down a lot safer at considerable levels of more comfort and safety. So although the underpinnings are mostly the same, you know, solid axle front and rear, on these kind of roads, I think the newer vehicles are really in a league of their own. It's not that this can't do this, it's just I think the newer ones are just slightly better suited to it.
Alright, firstly we'd like to thank Suzuki South Africa for making this video possible for us. They will be extremely professional in getting us the vehicle, delivering it clean, full of fuel, so I'd really like to personally thank Suzuki South Africa and Chesley Pinto for offering us this amazing opportunity to test drive this vehicle and to showcase it to our viewers. So in closing, which one would I buy? Without a doubt, 5-door auto. My wife is even considering trading in a little 3-door at the moment. The automatic gearbox, I think, made a massive difference. It definitely won me over. I've heard a lot of people say they don't like it, and it's old box and it doesn't have enough gear ratio and only 4 gears. Trust me when I tell you, go and drive one. The 5-door cruised at 130 km an hour on the highway with no problem whatsoever. Or manual, and I can guarantee you that the 5-door auto is a lot nicer on the highway. It's better on the gravel roads, it's better off-road, it's got more space. So yeah, if I had to pick a vehicle today, a brand new vehicle to buy, I would most definitely be looking at a 5-door auto Jim.
If I was going to buy a new car now, I definitely would be buying this one. Most modern cars don't really appeal to me. As you know, I like old cars. But if I needed to go out today and buy a new one, this would be my choice, I reckon.